A boy's hand stopped moving. He'd been shining shoes steady, quiet, focused, when he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small slip of paper. On it, he wrote 4 words. "There is a bug." The chairman's eyes flickered, just for a moment. But this was a man who had ruled boardrooms for 50 years. His face didn't change, not even slightly. Instead, he picked up a pen, turned the note over, and wrote back. "Can you remove it?" The boy nodded. If you're curious what that little piece of paper would set in motion, you're in exactly the right place. I'm so glad you're here today. Whether you're listening from your kitchen, your porch, or maybe on a morning walk, I hope this story finds you well. Drop a comment and tell me where you are. I'd love to know. Now then, let's begin. Just behind the main boulevard, tucked into a quiet alley, sat a small shoe shine stand. Nothing fancy. A low stool, a wooden box, and a 17-year-old boy named Kang Shi-yoon. Now, Shi-yoon was different from other shoe shiners. When he worked, his eyes were always closed. First-time customers found it strange, but the regulars, they knew. This boy didn't see the world with his eyes. He heard it. Shi-yoon had been born with a condition so rare, doctors had no name for it. His hearing wasn't just sharp. It was extraordinary. He could hear what no one else could. The tiny teeth of a watch gear catching and turning. The slow drying of ink inside a fountain pen. And he could feel when a human heart began to beat faster. That afternoon, school had just let out. Shi-yoon was settled into his usual spot. When a familiar rhythm of footsteps came around the corner, he knew those footsteps by heart. The particular weight of the heel, the slight drag of the left foot, the measured, deliberate pace of a man who had never been in a hurry, because he never needed to be. Chairman Bae Won-sik, head of the Sungwon Group, one of the 5 most powerful men in Korean business, a man in his 70s who still stood straight as a flagpole. 3 months ago, Chairman Bae had found this little alley stand by pure accident. Since then, he'd been coming back 2 or 3 times a week, always alone, no bodyguards, no secretary, just the chairman and the boy. He told himself it was the shoe shine, and it was true. Shi-yoon's hands were extraordinary, delicate in a way that even master cobblers admired. But the real reason the chairman kept coming back, sitting on that low stool in that quiet alley, was the only place in his world where nothing felt like a lie. "Here," the chairman said, settling into the chair. Shi-yoon gave a small bow and got to work. Wax, cloth, the familiar circular motion. And then he heard it. From the chairman's wrist. A Patek Philippe. Grand complication. Shi-yoon knew the sound of its gears intimately. That precise, layered, mechanical whisper. But today, underneath it, something else. A tiny electronic pulse. Rhythmic. Repeating, completely out of place. That's a listening device. Shi-yoon's hands stopped. His heart began to pound. He quietly reached into his pocket, pulled out a notepad and pen. His hand was trembling, but he wrote clearly. "Chairman, there is a listening device in your watch. Please do not react." He slipped the folded note into the chairman's palm. The chairman opened it. Read it. For just one instant, his eyes moved. That was all. 50 years of iron composure. Not a muscle in his face shifted. He turned the note over. "Borrowed Shi-yoon's pen. Are you certain?" Shi-yoon wrote back. "A mechanical watch should only make mechanical sounds. There is an electronic frequency underneath. I am certain." The chairman's gaze went cold and still. He was right. A Patek Philippe had no electronics, no reason for any signal at all, and this watch had been a gift from his son, Jaemin. He wrote one more line. "Can you remove it?" Shi-yoon nodded. The chairman unclasped the watch and handed it over. From his shoe shine box, Shi-yoon produced a tiny precision screwdriver set, originally meant for shoe repairs, but useful for all kinds of delicate work. His fingertips found the back of the case, eased it open. There, nestled between the intricate gears of a watch worth more than most people's homes, was something that should not have existed, smaller than a grain of rice. A black chip, the latest generation of microsurveillance technology. Shi-yoon held his breath, used a pin tool to lift it out, careful as a surgeon. He placed it inside a small metal tin of shoe wax and pressed the lid shut tight. "You're safe now, Chairman." Metal casing blocks the signal. Nothing's transmitting. The chairman looked at this boy for a long moment. This child is no ordinary child. He retrieved the watch, fastened it back to his wrist, and spoke for the first time out loud. "What's your name?" "Kang Shi-yoon, sir." "Shi-yoon, what are you, exactly?" "How did you hear that?" A small pause. "I just hear things. I always have, since I was born. Sounds other people can't hear, they come to me. The chairman studied those eyes for a long time. They were not the eyes of someone lying. They were almost too clear for this world. Do you want to know who gave me that watch? Shi-yoon shook his head. That's not my business, sir. You're right, the chairman said. He rose from the stool, but his feet didn't move. Shi-yoon. Yes, sir. Come with me. I need your ears. Shi-yoon looked up at the old man. In that instant, he knew. If he took this hand, his life would never be the same. The quiet days with his shoeshine box would be over. He would be stepping into a world he had never even seen from the outside. But he couldn't say no, because in the chairman's eyes, he didn't see the arrogance of power. He saw something far more human. Desperation. Shi-yoon picked up his shoeshine box and stood. As they turned out of the alley, the Sungwon Group tower rose up before them, all glass and steel and silence. A man in a suit came running. Head of security, Moon Tae-shik. His eyes landed on the boy with the wooden box. Chairman, who is this? He's coming up with me. Tae-shik. The man's face hardened. Sir, you're bringing a shoeshine boy into headquarters. Don't make me say it twice. As they stepped into the lobby, Shi-yoon quietly focused on Moon Tae-shik's heartbeat. Fast. Uneven. That's not irritation, Shi-yoon thought. That's fear. Someone hiding something. The elevator doors opened, and somewhere above them, on the 10th floor, a man named Bae Jae-min stood at his window, watching his father walk through the entrance below. In his hand, a receiver. The signal had gone dead. His expression didn't change, but his eyes grew very, very still. Interesting, he murmured. Let's see what you are, little shoeshine boy. The doors opened onto the 20th floor. Shi-yoon had never seen anything like it. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking all of Seoul. Carpets so deep his shoes sank into it. Old paintings along the walls. The kind that belonged in museums. He'd spent his whole life looking up at buildings like this. He'd never imagined being inside one. Then the chairman's office door swung open. Father. Bae Jae-min, 40 years old. A tailored suit. The kind of handsome that looks less like luck and more like a decision. His eyes swept to Shi-yoon and stopped. Is this the shoeshine boy? Knock before you enter, Jae-min. I have urgent business. Jae-min walked in and stood before Shi-yoon, looking down at him from a deliberate height. Name? Shi-yoon listened. Slow heartbeat. Controlled. Confident. This man isn't nervous. Not even a little. Kang Shi-yoon. And what exactly is a shoeshine boy doing in the chairman's office? The chairman stepped in. I brought him here. He's needed. Father, Jae-min said with the patient tone of someone managing a difficult situation. You haven't been well. Having a street child in headquarters, it could reflect poorly on all of us. This is my company. I'll see whoever I choose. A pause. Then Jae-min smiled. Of course. My apologies. He turned toward the door. But just before he left, he looked back at Shi-yoon. Welcome to the company, Shi-yoon. The smile didn't reach his eyes. Shi-yoon strained his ears down the hallway, into the elevator shaft, and he heard Jae-min's voice, low, on a call. Look him up. Kang Shi-yoon. Dig up everything. Report back immediately. Shi-yoon's back went cold. Chairman, he said quietly. What did you hear? He's having me investigated. He wants my background checked. The chairman's expression didn't shift, but something behind his eyes went very dark. Of course he does. Then Shi-yoon heard it again. The same faint electronic tone, different location. He looked up. Corner of the ceiling. The ventilation grate. Chairman, there's another one. Up there, the chairman's fist clenched white at his side. His office. His own office. That meant someone with access. Someone inside. Everything said in this room, Shi-yoon said gently, may have been heard. The chairman stared at the door his son had just walked through. I knew he was ambitious, he said, very quietly. I didn't know it had gone this far. He turned to the window. His broad shoulders, which had always seemed to carry the weight of empires, sagged. Just slightly. I fought my whole life in this world, survived betrayals and schemes I can't even name, and I never saw the blade my own son was holding. Shi-yoon said nothing. Sometimes, there's nothing to say. Meanwhile, on the 10th floor, Jae-min was watching his screen. The audio waveform from the chairman's office had flatlined. His relaxed smile faded. When this after, that little dog just found the second one, too. He leaned back in his chair, tapped the desk slowly. How did he hear me in the elevator? That's not possible from that distance. He picked up his phone. His background, his history, everyone he's ever known. Find me something I can use. And if there's nothing, create something. A week passed. School was on summer break, So Shi-yoon reported to Sungwon Group headquarters every morning. The chairman had given him a small office, an official title, Special Advisor to the Chairman. No one quite knew what that meant, but no one dared question it either. His work was simple on paper. Walk with the chairman. Listen. Report. In that 1 week alone, he'd caught a listening device in the main conference room the night before a major acquisition meeting. He'd spotted a business partner secretly recording a private conversation. More than once, he'd saved the chairman from decisions built entirely on manipulated information. Your ears, the chairman told him, are worth more than money in this building. But not everyone saw it that way. Who is that kid following the chairman everywhere? Shoeshine boy, apparently. From the street, is the chairman losing his mind? Shi-yoon heard every word. He always heard every word. He'd been hearing versions of those words his whole life. Orphan kid. Nobody wants him. Sad, but still, he was used to it. Until Friday afternoon, when the chairman's chief of staff, Han Jong-suk, came to find him. Her face was drawn tight. Shi-yoon, I need to show you something. She handed him a manila envelope. He opened it. Photographs spilled out. Shi-yoon stared at them. They showed a boy that looked exactly like him, in scenes he had never been part of. Exchanging money with a stranger. Passing documents marked confidential. Meeting with an unidentified man in a parking garage. These are fake, he said immediately. I've never done any of this. I know. Shi-yoon, I believe you, but these were sent to every executive this morning, and Vice Chairman Jae-min has called an emergency board meeting. She lowered her voice. They're calling you a corporate spy. Shi-yoon's mind went white. He grabbed his phone, called the chairman's private number. Once, twice, 3 times. No answer. A 4th time. Disconnected. Then a hand landed on his shoulder. A security officer. Your special advisor status is suspended. Effective immediately. Please surrender your access badge. What? Why? Vice Chairman's orders. And then Moon Tae-shik appeared at the end of the hallway, a strange smile on his face. The Vice Chairman wants to see you. Jae-min was standing at the window with his back to the door. When he turned, he was holding a file folder. Kang Shi-yoon, 17 years old, Seoul Municipal Children's Home, surrendered by biological parents at age 5. 3 subsequent adoptions, all dissolved. Shi-yoon felt his chest tighten. That was the one thing he had never told anyone. A boy who's been thrown away 3 times, Jae-min said, stepping closer. Latches on to my father. What's the angle? Money? A name? I didn't do any of this. Those photos are fabricated. Fabricated. Jae-min spread the photos on the desk like playing cards. The police will decide that. I've already filed a complaint. He let that land. Corporate espionage. Minimum 5 years. Juvenile court might go easier on you, but you'll still go. Shi-yoon's eyes filled with tears. Not because he was afraid. Because it was so unfair. Please, believe me. Jae-min tilted his head. Who's going to believe a kid who's been abandoned 3 times? He moved closer and dropped his voice to almost nothing. Walk away quietly and I'll drop the charges. Disappear. Stay away from my father, and I'll let you keep your life. You have until tomorrow. Shi-yoon stood alone in the hallway. His legs barely held him. He slid against the wall and sat on the floor. No chairman, no home, nowhere to go. And then his phone buzzed. A message from the children's home. Come get your things. The city has ordered your removal from the facility due to criminal allegations. We're sorry. In the lobby, 2 men in suits were waiting. Men he recognized from the security team. Shi-yoon walked out of the building carrying only his shoeshine box. He sat on a bench across the street and stared at the tower. 1 hour. 2. Then a black car turned into the driveway. The chairman's car. Shi-yoon ran toward it. Chairman. The window was dark. He couldn't see inside. The car slowed, almost stopped, then rolled on, down into the underground parking garage. Shi-yoon stood there. Did he see me? Does he even know I'm here? Inside the car, Moon Tae-shik had quietly moved to block the window at just the right moment. Just some street clutter, sir. Nothing to concern yourself with. The chairman never saw him. Back on the street, the 2 men found Shi-yoon again. Hand over the box. No. Vice Chairman wants the evidence recovered. Inside that metal tin, the chip from the chairman's watch. The one piece of proof that any of this had happened. The one thing that could save him. I said no. The punch came without warning. He hit the pavement. The box stayed in his arms. People on the street were starting to look. The men backed off. Vice Chairman's last offer expires tonight. Choose wisely. Shi-yoon lay on the ground for a moment. Then he pushed himself up, mouth bleeding, palms scraped. He looked up at the tower. Run, said one part of his brain. You could disappear. New city, new start. Leave all of this behind. But another part of him, quieter, steadier, said something different. If I run, those photos follow me forever. I'll be a criminal in every record that ever holds my name, every file, every system. I will not be that. He stood up straight. I'm not running, he whispered. To no one. I'm going to finish this. Shi-yoon. He turned. Han Jong-suk, the chief of staff, standing in the shadow of the alley. She pressed a small envelope into his hands. From the chairman. He's been looking for you. Come to this address tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock. Shi-yoon opened the envelope. An address, a little cash, and the knowledge, small and precious as a spark, that he had not been forgotten. He didn't leave me. It's not over. He walked into the evening, holding his shoeshine box against his chest. It was going to be a long night. But for the first time all day, he wasn't alone. Shi-yoon hadn't slept. He'd sat through the whole night, back against a wall somewhere warm enough, watching the sky go from black to gray to pale gold. At 6:30, he was already on the bus. By 7, he was standing in front of an old Hanok home in the Songbuk-dong Hills, one of those quiet, well-kept neighborhoods where the streets are narrow and the walls are high, and old trees lean over the tops of stone gates. Han Jong-suk opened the gate. He's waiting. Through the courtyard, across the wooden-floored hall, and there, sitting on the veranda in the morning light, was Chairman Bae Won-sik. Chairman, the old man stood, crossed the courtyard. I didn't do any of this, Shi-yoon said, and his voice cracked despite himself. The photos are fake, all of it. I swear, I know. The chairman said. Then why? Because I couldn't be certain. Not without evidence. And I hesitated. He placed a hand on Shi-yoon's shoulder. I've been afraid, Shi-yoon. Afraid of what it means to suspect my own son. That's not your fault. It's mine. Yesterday, your car passed right by me. I was right there. The chairman's face fell. Taeshik blocked the window. Told me it was nothing. I didn't see. He told me you confessed, took a settlement, and ran. That never happened. I know. Jung-suk told me the truth, that you'd been hit, that you were bleeding, and you still didn't run. Shi-yoon couldn't speak. The chairman led him inside, to a low table with 2 cups of warm tea. Do you still have it? The chip? Shi-yoon opened the tin. He held it to his ear. First old habit. When this after, the battery's dead. No signal. He handed it over. This might tell us who was listening. The chairman nodded slowly. I've sent it to someone I trust outside the company. They're analyzing it now. Shi-yoon Taeshik was Jaemin's man. From the beginning. I know. His heartbeat was wrong the first day I met him. The chairman looked at him. Of course it was. He exhaled slowly, like a man setting down something he'd carried too long. Jaemin wants my seat. He's been planning this for months, using my health as the justification. Last year, I collapsed. He's built an entire case around that moment. His plan is to remove you at the board meeting. Yes, and he's already moved most of the board to his side. Then we don't have much time. No, we don't. Shi-yoon, I have an idea. Tell me. You heard Jaemin through a closed elevator, from across a lobby. You found devices that our own security team missed. Yes, he loves surveillance. He thinks it makes him untouchable. Shi-yoon met the chairman's eyes. You want me to listen to him? I don't know if it's possible. I won't pretend the risk is small. I'll try. That night, with the chairman's quiet blessing, Shi-yoon walked to the edge of the Sungwon Group building, the 10th floor, vice chairman's office. A window left cracked open for ventilation. He stood still, breathed slowly, and listened. We finish this at tomorrow's board meeting. Is the vote secured? Yes, sir. Majority in your favor. And the health documentation is complete full medical records from his collapse last year. Good. And the boy? Arrest warrant ready. We move immediately after the vote. The fabricated photos, the originals? On my personal computer only. All traces removed. Shi-yoon stood in the dark and memorized every word. Then he walked back to the chairman's house and told him everything. The chairman listened without moving. Then he smiled, small, cold, and certain. Good, he said. Now it's my turn. Morning. Quiet tension. The sound of pages turning. A teacup setting down. Chairman, the analysis came back. Han Jung-suk stood in the doorway, file in hand. The device in your watch. It matches equipment used exclusively by Sungwon Group's internal security division. It cannot be purchased commercially. The chairman's eyes were steady. And the transmission records? Still being traced. But the signal destination, it's pointing to the building. 10th floor most likely. Most likely. Not confirmed yet. But the analysts say they'll have it by morning. He nodded. Tell them to work through the night. Shi-yoon sat across from the chairman. You suspected Jae-min for a while, didn't you? The old man was quiet for a moment. I had my suspicions. I just couldn't bring myself to believe them. There's a difference between knowing something and being willing to look at it. He set down his tea. I've made enemies my whole career. Survived things that would have broken most men. But a father looking at his son and seeing a threat. He stopped. That takes a different kind of courage. Tomorrow's the board meeting, Shi-yoon said. Yes, then we'll be ready. The chairman looked at him across the table. This 17-year-old boy with the old eyes. You know you don't have to be there. I know. It could go badly. It could. When this after, why are you still here, Shi-yoon? A long pause. Because you believed me when no one else did. Now it's my turn to return the favor. The Sungwon Group Emergency Board Meeting, 1000 a.m. A long table, 12 directors, and at either end, a father and his son. Jae-min opened proceedings. The matter before us is singular. The chairman's fitness to lead. Last year's medical incident represents a serious concern, and recent decisions, including the appointment of an unvetted teenager as special advisor, raise further questions about his judgment. Heads nodded around the table. I am formally requesting the chairman's voluntary resignation in the best interests of the company. The room waited. Chairman Bae stood slowly. The room went quiet. In that particular way rooms do when everyone suddenly remembers who they're dealing with. You mentioned the special advisor. He reached into his jacket pocket, something so small it was almost invisible between his fingers. A black chip, smaller than a grain of rice. Does anyone know what this is? Silence. This was inside my watch. A listening device. Our analysis team determined it could only have come from Sungwon Group's own internal security division. Not available commercially, not accessible to outsiders. He placed it on the table. And the transmission records. He produced a second sheet. Signal received, 10th floor. The vice chairman's office. The room erupted in murmurs. Jae-min was on his feet. That's a baseless accusation. Is it? The chairman's voice was quiet. Quiet in the way that large things are quiet. Last night I was told about a conversation. A conversation between you and Moon Tae-shik. Would you like to tell the board what you said? Or shall I? Jae-min's face had gone pale. We finish this at the board meeting. Vote is secured. The health documentation is complete. You said that, Jae-min. Murmurs grew louder. Several directors were looking at each other. You also said, and I want the board to hear this carefully, the fabricated photos are on my personal computer only. All traces removed. How did you? The doors opened. Shi-yoon walked in. Jae-min stared. This boy, the chairman said, heard that conversation from outside the building, through a cracked window. That is what his ears can do. That's impossible. And yet, Han Jong-suk entered behind Shi-yoon, carrying a second folder. Chairman, final confirmation just arrived. She laid the documents on the table. The fabricated photographs were created on a computer registered to the Sungwon Group 10th floor executive suite. Metadata confirms the date, time, and location of editing. The device signature matches one workstation. Specifically, the vice chairman's personal computer. The room fell completely still. Shi-yoon stepped forward. His voice was steady. I am not a corporate spy. I have never stolen anything from this company. Everything in those photographs was fabricated. He looked around the room. I'm a 17-year-old boy who heard something no one else could hear, and I stayed. Even when it would have been much easier to run. Chairman Bae looked at his son. It was not the look of a chairman addressing a rival. It was the look of a father, and it was devastating. I wanted so badly to be wrong about you, Jae-min. His voice broke just slightly. Just once. I am removing Bae Jae-min from all executive positions, effective immediately. Moon Tae-shik is likewise terminated. All charges against Kang Shi-yoon are formally retracted. Full restoration of his reputation will proceed today. Jae-min didn't argue. He gathered nothing, said nothing, walked toward the door with his head down. As he passed, Shi-yoon spoke quietly, almost gently. Vice Chairman. Jae-min stopped. The first time I met you, your heartbeat was slow, confident, in control. Shi-yoon paused. Right now, it's loud and fast and uneven. Another pause, like a man who knows what he's done. Jae-min walked out without a word. The meeting ended. Outside the boardroom, Chairman Bae found Shi-yoon in the corridor. Where will you go now? Shi-yoon thought about it. I'm not sure. I don't really have anywhere to be. The chairman smiled. Then stay. I still need my ears. Really? You have school to attend, meals to eat, and a room at the villa that's already yours if you want it. Take your time. Figure the rest out slowly. Shi-yoon looked at this old man who had doubted him and been honest about it, who had reached for him when he had every reason not to. Thank you, Chairman. Don't thank me. I'm the one who owes you. The chairman looked out the window at the Seoul skyline. If it weren't for your ears, I would have lost everything to my own son and never even known it. Shi-yoon looked out with him. The sky was clear. His shoe shine box was in his hand. His feet were steady on the ground. The road ahead was long, but he wasn't walking it alone. A shoeshine boy from the streets of Seoul. No family, no money, no safety net. Just a pair of ears that heard what the world tried to hide. And the courage on the worst day of his young life to stand up and say, I'm not running. Friends, I hope this story stayed with you a little while. We all have moments where everything seems stacked against us, where the easy thing is to disappear and let other people write the story. Shi-yoon's real gift wasn't his hearing. It was that choice, the decision to stay. Whatever you're carrying today, I hope this gave you a little something to hold on to. If it did, I'd love for you to subscribe and pass this story along to someone who might need it. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Until next time, take good care of yourselves.